I want to share with you useful tips, effective and powerful tips you could use to reframe your life and situations in your life in a way that is beneficial for your mental health. And I'm taking proven techniques that psychotherapists and life coaches use in their own practices. And I hope you'll be able to use these for yourself. I'm going to show you how. As a life coach and psychotherapist myself, I love to use these techniques, not only for my clients, but also for myself. I find them to be very powerful. So the first thing I want you to know is that words can be powerful. I have a friend called Brendan who does not like the word failure. He helps organizations grow by becoming more productive and also more empowered. And he realized wording is important. There's an organization that he worked with that uses the word failure to categorize some of their employees in hopes that this would help them improve over time. But actually, it's been scientifically shown that using words such as failure is actually destructive. It actually does not help people improve. Whether it's you or other people, using a label like that does not help. Not only is it disempowering, it also impedes progress. The person actually makes it harder for that person to think of a solution and to make their performance better. So Brendan emphasizes it's important to look at individual actions of employees and seeing how they could progress from there, understanding the employee. So Brendan has a really powerful podcast on this on his channel, so I'm going to link that down below on the topic of failure. Just to let you know, perspective clouds judgment. And I also want you to know that even though words can be powerful, it is also equally true we let words have their power as well. So we could choose how we use words in a way that empowers us. And when there's words that people use that disempower us, we don't have to give that word that they use the power. So the first thing I want you to know is that it's important before you do any reframing of your life or situations in your life to validate your own experience, to sit with your emotions and be where you are at. Whether it's sadness or whether it's anxiety or any number of emotions that we might label as negative, it is actually more helpful to be with that emotion instead of fighting it first. After that, you could do this reframing. And reframing, there is a technique to reframing. So just to let you know, positivity is not everything. So people think that in order to reframe things, they have to just get from a very bad place and flip it to a really good place, like in all one swoop, right? For instance, someone's sad, just be happy. That actually has the opposite effect intended. First of all, the person is overwhelmed by being told this, to go from this state to another state. That seems extreme. It's overwhelming. You're not letting them know what specific steps they could take in order to make the journey into healthier well-being. I think that's a better phrase. Like, is a healthier phrase than thinking about positivity or happiness, because it takes things a step at a time. You're focused on, you're depressed, and you focus on what steps you could take towards mental well-being. The second thing is that when you tell someone just be happy, it's not very useful. So I'm going to tell you how to reframe things in a positive way, but also a useful way, and not in a way that is overwhelmingly on the other side of the spectrum of positive, but something that is reasonable, something that you could believe in for the time being. So the first thing I want you to know is that when we have labels such as ADD, social anxiety, depression, bipolar, I want you to know that this is not all you are. Okay, that is not all you are. A label is just a tool. So labels can be important in a way that you could take ADHD or social anxiety and you want to be able to do some research on it so you can learn what tools are available, what therapeutic approaches are available to be in a mentally healthier place. But that's as far as labels go. It's important not to get caught up in the label and just get sucked into it. So on one hand, it's important how we use words, but also remember, we give words their power. And it's really up to us whether we want to give these words the power that they have. If we're so focused on the label itself, what happens is our minds could just go off. For instance, say I label myself as anxious. Then my mind goes, what am I going to do about my anxiety? How am I going to fix my anxiety? How am I going to stop my anxiety? However, the thing is, when the mind is in that state, it's actually getting stuck in that energy of anxiety. In order to release yourself from that state, it's important not to focus on what you don't want to do and focus more towards the direction of where you want to go, and generally in a more positive direction. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. First of all, I'll give you an example. I've been told when I was depressed that by a professional that I had a naturally depressed brain. And I gotta tell you, I felt disempowered by that phrase. I remember how disempowering that felt to me. So this is the reason why I want to give you these tools, because these are tools that I wish that I had then. Right now, I am in a much better place. My set point for my well-being is much better, and I wish I was not told that, because really, given the set point that I have now, it's really far from depressed brain. The thing about a depressed brain is that it feels like a permanent label, and worse, it is a negative label. So just to let you know, a powerful way to reframe something is to not use something that seems permanent, and especially when it's negative. So it's the same thing as the word failure. So I had a client who was socially anxious. And the thing is, she focused a lot on the label social anxiety, to the point that whenever she hears the phrase, I could actually see her shrink up. So I decided to reframe it, and this is a process. It's not like I did this immediately, but I got her to focus on the phrase connecting with others instead of social anxiety. I stopped mentioning the phrase social anxiety and I started to focus on the phrase connecting with others. And she found that to be incredibly helpful, because first of all, when you say connecting with others, it's positive, but also it kind of gets you to know what you can do. What can I do to connect with others? So a frame is positive if it's action-oriented and it's useful. So in this case, when she heard connecting with others, she could start to brainstorm ways of how can she do that? How can she move towards that direction? And I saw her demeanor and she seemed to ease up a lot more. The second one, another example, is bipolar disorder or anxiety. Instead of focusing on the labels of bipolar or anxiety, someone could instead focus on finding inner stability. Or someone who may be lost, they could focus on discovering a way a step at a time. So the key here is creating phrases that are action-oriented, are useful and positive. So notice I use a lot of ing words: connecting, finding, discovery. That's something that you could use when you reframe your life or a situation in your life. And make something that is believable for yourself. And one way to make a phrase more believable is to take one small step towards that direction. So say that you have social anxiety and you want to connect with people, but you haven't connected with people before. Take some steps, you have a goal for this week to speak with two strangers and have a short conversation with them. That allows for more buy-in for the phrase, connecting with others. But the key point is it's easier for your mind to focus on going towards a positive direction than to stop something that is negative. Like, for instance, stop being anxious, or stop having social anxiety, or stop being depressed. That doesn't help. So I hope you found that useful. If you think about a way you could reframe, just write that down in the comments below. If you have any questions, you can just write that down in the comments below. And feel free to reach out to me.